What up? What's up, good peoples? Welcome to another Relationship Thursday. We are coming to you all at 10:34 Eastern Standard Time.
You think your feelings too, ain't you?
I am in my feelings. But we was taking care of business, handling some things, and so let me go ahead and get that mic real quick while you open it up.
No,
I don't know if they can hear me. Can y'all hear me? Let me know if y'all can hear me talking over top of this beat
y'all
right
can
here.
hear him. You don't need a mic all the time, do you?
I like to have a mic. It's my blankie.
You don't need a mic.
You
do a lot of times, but talk louder tonight.
I don't feel like talking like you said. I gotta
you know what?
Down.
This is gonna be good because this inherently kind of gets into our personality differences and the ways that we are different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like it needs to be amplified. Hello, honey. Excuse us. We have our children are just. What's going on, bro?
Hey, what's up, Donna?
Huh?
I love you too.
You wanna come say that night? You're supposed to bed in the bed.
You can't watch it.
Come here.
Hey, y'all, again, thank y'all for tuning in to another Relationship Thursday.
Say hi to the people.
We've had some people,
say hi.
One in particular, our youngest son, invade our live stream.
He's saying hi. Say hi.
And say bye.
Say bye-bye. Bye. Okay, good night. No, it's too late. It's too late. Watch that cord. Step over it.
Hey, as y'all come in, let us know where y'all are tuning in from.
It is very late. I'm gonna come up in a little while, okay? Night. Go ahead, take them up. No,
You using that down?
Yes. So what are we talking about tonight, boo? Yeah, we are on late. We had a late little impromptu meeting. A lot of stuff going on in our world.
Yeah, so we're talking about personality differences, y'all. Personality differences and how they impact your relationship. Some things that you can do, 3 tips to manage those. You know, we all have certain ways in which we flow, certain things that we do. And they do impact our relationship sometimes positively, sometimes negatively. And so tonight we're going to be addressing that and giving y'all some tips on how to handle your business and get through some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Let us know where y'all are tuning in from.
Please do. I feel like we just been moving so much. I just need to connect with my folks. And so I need to know where you're representing from. I see Kristen in Springdale, Maryland. And I see Makisha, tell me if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Pennsylvania. Oh, LA, California. Donald, he's representing Inglewood. Our family, some of our family will be out there next week, matter of fact, in LA. And look at you, Chantel is in the house. And I see my sis Stephanie. Stephanie's always on. So yes, we're happy to see you on YouTube. We have Wake Forest, North Carolina in the house and Mount Laurel, New Jersey. We see you, 36 Soybean. You always coming through. We see you, Nanya. Welcome. So who are we? Before we get started this evening?
My name is Ayise Ma'at. This right here is my incredible, delectable, inviting, exciting.
You can still talk about me like that when you've been kind of stank with me this evening?
I can still flow like that. Yeah.
You've been stank.
I've been stank. I think as the hours pass by, as time passes by, I get more and more stank. So I was a little bit irritated earlier, but now I'm trying to shift my energy.
So look, y'all,
to be in a space
we have some impromptu business pop up on the scene, and so my husband, I'm just.
We was actually sitting right here, and then we got a phone call. My wife was like, "Should we take it?" And my dumb butt gonna say yes. So we sitting here, and then the phone call ended up being like 45, 50 minutes, and so.
But it was good.
It was good. And so the person who's watching or listening, then thank you. But they might be. I don't know.
It was good. So who are we?
So we are the Ma'ats. We are licensed therapists. We've been married now for 17 years, together for 24.
We just celebrated our anniversary.
Yes, we did.
May 27th.
Yes.
We got a little bit of an escape for a little moment.
We have 5 wonderful children, and so we lift that up not to really brag about it, but just to let you know we don't just talk this thing, we walk this thing. So we walk it how we talk it. Yeah, I guess we should.
I'm bragging.
Earlier today, I was actually talking to my daughter, and she shared something that was really interesting with me. And so now our son is calling. So I'm assuming you got to take that. Why don't you call him from my phone?
Oh, smart. Okay. But this going to go in?
Yeah, probably will.
Oh, man.
And so earlier today, we was having a conversation. I was having a conversation with my daughter as I was taking her to the mall. And she said something to me. She did like this Snapchat on our anniversary, just really shouting us out. And so that's one good thing, y'all, that I really love about our family and our children is that, and I guess about us too, is that we represent. We, like I said, we walk it how we talking. And so our children, they see this. And so for our daughter to give us kudos and shout us out on our anniversary on her Snapchat, it made me feel good. But in any event, somebody basically said to her, your mom, she's pretty. Your mom is beautiful. You know, why your parents still married? So I don't know if she would, why don't you get up, boo? People can hear what you, I mean, what are you doing?
I'm sorry. What's up?
Why y'all still married? And so she said, when they can get divorced? And so my daughter was like, never, like laugh out loud. And so again, the expectation in today's society, and not just with her, friends, but you know, with a lot of people, is that relationships don't last. Thank you for the happy anniversary, Dave. Relationships don't last. And so, you know, if you're in a relationship right now, it's important that you recognize the significance of the relationship and the impact that it has on your children because they're paying attention. And so my daughter, she speaks about how a number of her friends don't have two-parent households, how a number of her friends are in divorced homes or stepchildren, stepmom, and not to say that those relationships aren't able to work and function. But what I do want to lift up is the fact that it's really important that the relationship that you make it work. You got to make that thing work, y'all. And again, the reason why you have to do that is because what you're doing is you're instilling relationship values. You're instilling relationship habits and patterns of behavior just simply by the way that you flow. And so if you want your children to show up a certain way in terms of mate selection, if you want your children to show up a certain way in terms of commitment, if you want your children to show up in a certain way as it pertains to conflict management and resolution, if you want your children to show up a certain way as it pertains to communication, it's important that you exemplify what it is that you expect. Exemplify your expectation by what it is that you do. And so again, we represent in our household, and our children see it.
You say you want to brag, you are bragging.
I'm bragging now. It's a beautiful thing. And so again, y'all, you know, we do this because we think that it's important, extremely important to the longevity of our relationship. Is extremely important to the longevity of the relationships that exist in the community. I don't know, right there.
Oh, I'm slow.
I think you're feeling your way.
No, I'm not.
All right, so we go ahead and get started, y'all. Again, my name is Ayize Maad, and this right here is my wife, Iana Maad. Hey, please share this video if you haven't already done so. We do appreciate the shares. And let's get a mood check right now. Put some type of what is it? Emoji? Some type of emoji. I'm about to say emoji. Some type of emoji indicating like how you feel right now. What's your temperament right now? Is it love? Is it lights? Is it hearts? It might have messed up by some part you switch. You can't turn it.
Oh, you can't do it. Oh, my bad.
Is it hearts? What is it? I see a thumbs down over here. 529. 529 thumbs down, really? I hope all is well over there in your neck of the woods. What's that? She got a smiley face.
Listen. Hey.
Now, but you said we're going to be on this phone.
No, we're not. We're going to be on here real brief tonight. Okay, so you told folks what we're talking about?
I did, man.
Okay, so, you know, we had another topic already, you know, identified for this evening. And if you're just joining us for the first time, my husband and I, we are a couple. We're married. We've been together for many years. And we do this work because we're called to this work to really focus on how we can help to, you know, assist couples with going to the next level in their relationship, whatever level you find yourself on. And as we do the work, we also get something from it because it helps us to stay on our game. And so tonight we had a different topic all scheduled, and then we had this late business call and we had to get on that. And so, you know, as I was kind of thinking about, my husband said, what you want to talk about? You still want to do the same topic? And as I was thinking about how I experienced him this evening. Yeah. As I was thinking about how I experienced my lovely husband, I thought about the fact that you got to get in this frame. I thought about the fact that, you know, like we're just different people. My husband and I are different people, and even earlier tonight, like the latter part of the day, that was coming through, and I was getting frustrated with him. I'm sure he was frustrated with me, but it really comes down to our core personalities. And I say, let's talk about this a little bit. So as much as you all say we give to you, you all give to us, and this is a cyclical, circular process where we all kind of feed off the energy that we share with one another. So tonight, I want to give you 3 tips for dealing with personality differences in your relationship. If you think that, that is not something that will kind of like stick around or stay around, just understand that we've been together for how long now?
You tell me.
We've been together for...
I said it.
I know, but I don't know, it was 17 years. 17. Yes, we have. We've been together for 17 years. We've been married for 17 wonderful, beautiful years. Yes. Okay. We've been married for 17 years. We've been together for 24.
Oh.
Yeah. I represent. Okay. So we've been married for 24. And throughout these 24 years, I have to say that, my husband has taught me so much. I've learned a lot from him. He's taught me a lot about how to be compassionate, how to fall back, how to be like water, how to, be a cool breeze on a hot, blistering day, how to learn how to be quiet and not talk so much, to be attuned emotionally to what's going on with other people, because he's a master at that. You see how he was doing that? Do it again. You were doing that? That's who he is. Like, he is always, I don't care. If you come and talk to this brother, he's always in this position. So I've learned a lot from him in terms of like, kind of like just paying attention to my surroundings, to the people who are around me. And yes, you can, baby. And so I benefited from that. Have you benefited from being around me?
Keep on talking about me.
So I've learned a lot, from him in terms of like he's the back of the day they used to call him Cool Breeze, and he really is a cool breeze. I'm a Leo, so I'm a fire. And he's a Pisces, he's water. He's the only water that knows how to put out my fire. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So he is the only water, that knows how to come right in and put out my fire and shut me down. And it's been a joy to be, because just last month was our 17-year anniversary to be your student. For these 17 years. You see, I know the words to use because I know this man. And I know he was going like, oh, snap. Did she say she was my student? Mm-hmm. I've been your student. I know you do. I know who you are. And I know what you need. And at the same time, it's not disingenuous. I mean, like, straight up for real. Like, I have learned a lot from him. At the same time, as I've learned from him, I have been thoroughly agitated by him. Really? He has frustrated me to no end. I am an extrovert. I kind of call myself a fake me out extrovert. You know what I mean? Like I like to have fun, and I like to talk, and I like to kind of be out there and engage and interact with people. At the same time, I'm also, a little at the same time, I'm often looking for like, when is it over so I can go home and, get back in my comfy space. So I'm not a full out extrovert, but that generally is who I am. He's an introvert, and he wants to be behind the scenes and kind of lay low and fall back and that kind of thing. So in terms of how we approach things, mm-hmm. when it comes to decision making, when it comes to what's the next move we're going to make for our family, how are we going to approach our business because we're business partners, how we parent our children and what that looks like. Man, if y'all could just be a fly on the wall when we having these conversations and when we're, really trying to figure these things out, it ain't no easy task because I approach things differently and he approaches things differently. And so tonight, we want to share with you a little bit of what we've experienced, what we have dealt with, and also give you some tips on how to deal with personality differences. If you're in a relationship and you're with your divinely, guided person, the person who's for you, then more than likely, they're going to irritate you and agitate you. More than likely, they have some things to teach you, and you have some things to teach your partner, because that's the design of a divinely ordained relationship. There are strengths that he has that I do not have. There are things that I naturally possess that he needs to learn. And so we want to kind of put that out as the baseline for tonight in terms of dealing with personality differences. We see y'all coming on, and I appreciate you all. Tamika said, Team Pisces. So she's with you, Ayuze. She's with you. And Michelle said she's been looking for what we're talking about. So we're going to get into it tonight for you, Michelle. Black Love Rocks. Yes, it does, Linda. So please share this video as we move along tonight. And please drop your own knowledge and talk about what you've experienced and give some tips of your own, because I think that all of us can benefit from the energy that we're putting out in the atmosphere right now.
Yes, indeed. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started tonight. As my wife said, please share this this video. When it comes to personality differences in relationships, when it comes to so what you should have done. Let me just address this real quick.
Oh my goodness!
You're reaching behind me and trying to move me over to get into your Facebook
to get
feed.
in the frame.
What you should have done was started the camera, your feed horizontally.
I didn't. I'll do it from now on. I'm sorry.
All right. So look, when it comes to, looking at personalities and relationships, it's important that you really, we've said this before, but that you really embrace, that you acknowledge and embrace the fact that there is difference.
Hey, Bruce, what do you?
It's important that what's up, Bruce? It's important that you recognize that there is difference. A lot of people have this tendency to, when they enter relationships, on the surface level, you know that your partner is different, but even though that you know your partner is different, you want your partner to think like you. And so,
hallelujah, I feel you on that.
And so, while you can know that things are supposed to be different, and you can yearn and want your partner to think the way that you think, the reality, as my wife mentioned a moment ago, is that it's divine movement that's taking place that's bringing somebody to you that's different from you.
Mm-hmm.
It's important that you understand that the differences in personalities, the differences in the way people flow, is some form of agitation to the relationship that ultimately could lead to elevation if you allow yourself to embrace it. And so again, first you have to acknowledge that it's going to be there. The difference is going to be there. And so once you acknowledge that the difference is going to be there, then you embrace or you accept it. And now what we're going to do is give you some strategies and some tips in terms of how to really move through it. So my wife, she gave me kudos and everything in terms of talking about things that she's learned from me. I've definitely learned a number of things from her. Yeah.
You gonna say something?
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be right for me to let you gloat on me and me not say anything about you. So again, this is my queen. If you nudge me one more time, why don't we just move this to the middle so you ain't gotta nudge me? All right, let's do that. All right. Is that cool? Now you got the picture. Huh?
No, we're good.
All right. So when I think about my baby, what I think about and what I really appreciate from her, from you, is the fact that that fire is definitely an inspiration. And so I've learned from my wife how to speak up, how to step into a space or position of authority, how to own who I am and really respect and embrace who I am, and move confidently and courageously through the world. And depending upon what it is that I'm negotiating. And so I've watched her move with absolute and complete faith, not really knowing what the next step is. And she's been an amazing inspiration to me. Just me being able to witness your evolution, your process, has definitely helped in my own personal unfolding. And so her walk is mighty, and I've benefited from that. I've been inspired by that, and you hold it down for me, for the family, for all of us. And so I give major thanks to you. And so, like I said, you're a walking testimony to what it means to be committed, what it means to have faith, and what it means to move with purpose, because you are the purpose pusher.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna digest that. So I received So we want to make sure this evening that you understand what it is we're talking about. And we want to give you a couple of examples. You know, John is outgoing. He can talk to almost anyone. On the other hand, Keisha is more reserved. She prefers socializing in small groups. She finds herself hurt and uncomfortable when John makes the rounds at parties, leaving her to fend for herself. And he can't understand why she prefers the wallflower approach and won't come up out of her little comfort zone. Daryl is practical. He pays close attention to details. It's second nature for him to keep careful records of how he spends money. Record keeping, on the other hand, is not that important to Tiffany. She feels restricted when she has to stop and make note of every daggone transaction, as Daryl would prefer. And then Tracy is quick to notice people's feelings and she tries to avoid arguments. Meanwhile, Chris is firm-minded and he enjoys a good argument. He likes to analyze and persuade with the use of logic, and it really frustrates him when Tracy says that he is not listening to her when he's just trying to prove his point. And then, lastly, Michael. Michael wishes that, Rachel would pay more attention to punctuality and get to places on time. He prefers life on a schedule and would not think of being late himself. Meanwhile, Rachel wishes that Michael would be more flexible and not get so uptight about 5 or 10 minutes. We could have just put Yana and Aiza in that one right there.
Hey, thanks, Shan. Shan making me feel good over there.
Oh, yeah? What did Shan say?
You're right here on your.
Oh, he said slim down. There you go. There you go.
Man, I got a few more to drop. I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah. So the question is, how can you as a couple, how can couples, really avoid getting caught up with power struggles that are really born in your personality differences. And so we want to talk about that tonight. And my husband already began the conversation by talking about the fact that, when you try to shape your partner into more of what you are, you already start on the wrong foot, because we have to respect. You may not like it. Have you ever heard, when you're in a situation, you're talking to other people or you're dealing with somebody who's difficult or whatever, have you ever heard the saying that they may not like you, but they will respect you? Have you ever heard that? You know what I'm talking about? Like I'm gonna have to just go ahead and make some things plain. They may not like it, but they will respect it. So you got to take that premise and really apply it to your relationship. You may not like how your partner shows up. You may not really get down with it. It's just not a core part of who you are. You don't understand it, but you must respect it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't understand anything else and you don't take away anything else from tonight, what you need to understand is that however your partner shows up, you need to respect it. You don't have to like it, because there's something for you to get from it, and there's something for you to learn from it, and you have been divinely attracted to this person who is your divine complement, so that you can get what you need to get from it. So let's get into tips.
So the 5 big personality types that pretty much undergird how you show up in the world consist of you can use the acronym OCEAN, OCEAN. The first one is openness. Openness is the first one. The second one is conscientiousness. The third one is being extroverted. The fourth one is being agreeable. And then the fifth one is being neurotic. Those are the 5, fundamental personality types that undergird, how you flow, based off of scientific evidence. And so what we're going to talk about is how these things blend or match or mix with each other, and how to, conquer the difficulties and differences that arise when you're bumping up against a personality type that's really not the way, or the one, or it's really not going the way you want it to go. So all right, so go ahead, man. We're going to be talking about how to deal with these different personalities.
Oh, so I'm going to tip there. Okay. I'm like, where do we go with that? Okay, so here's the first tip. The first tip for dealing with personality differences is this. The first thing you need to ask yourself when you find yourself in a situation with your partner, and let me say this, the situation that you may find yourself in that lets you know that it really comes down to a personality difference and a difference in how you all approach a situation. The first thing is that you need to understand that if it's repeated, if it's a theme, that's how you can determine whether or not it is something that is kind of an isolated situation, or if it's a personality difference. It's by whether or not it's a theme. How many times have you had the same conversation? How many times have you talked about this particular issue? Maybe it's not the particular issue, but maybe you keep, having a conversation, for example, where, you're saying, calm down, relax, chill. It's not that deep. It's all good. And the other person is saying, no, we need to make sure that this happens and it's not okay and it's not all good and we need to plan, right? You'll start to see things in your relationship. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Where you're coming from a certain perspective and the other person is coming from another perspective, but you all are kind of saying the same thing. It might be a different scenario, a different situation, but your messages are the same. Your messages are based on your personality, and your personality is informed in large part by not only, in my personal opinion, when you were born, what was happening with astrology and what was happening in the heavens when you were born is not just your sign and all that, but it's also your upbringing, how your parents, kind of impressed their own values, thoughts, and positions on you. There's a lot that goes into that. But my point is this: you need to recognize that if you're having the same conversations, then, and again, it's not about the particulars, it's not about the exact situation, it's about the position you continue to take. It's about the position that your partner continues to take. And that lets you know what? This is one of those areas that is a personality issue. And so we don't need to continue to knock heads. I don't need to continue to try to, make my point and get this across. I need to, me. Me.
You making eye statements?
You know what I'm saying? What you doing? I need to figure out what it is that ain't working. What it is, because that don't look right. What it is my partner needs. What it is my partner needs. So, do they need to be heard? Do they need to feel understood? Because at the end of the day, if I want Ayize to be more flexible, if I want him to be a little more amenable to kind of chilling and relaxing and falling back when it comes to the kids. Am I walking at that line right now?
He walking at that line, but I do think we need to do a live stream about parenting.
We sure do, because Lord knows we be bumping up against some stuff. If I want him to be like that, right, and to fall back a little bit and not, hover so much, then it's important for.
I'm a hoverer.
You are definitely a hoverer, my brother.
So he said yes.
You know what I'm saying? He's a hoverer. And I'm like, hey, good. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. That's informed by our personalities. If I want him to recognize that, I'm not going to get him to go there because of how much I try to break down, the importance of him, learning something, or I lecture, or I try to talk to him and get him to understand some things. I'm going to get that message across to him more easily by attuning in with him, attuning, attuning, attuning in with him. I don't even know if that's what he said, but getting emotionally attuned, like figuring out where he is emotionally and hitting his heart. Like you can't explain or lecture some things away. You can't try to drop knowledge and somebody's gonna be like, that was good, thank you, boo, I got that. It's not gonna go down like that. If you're in a class, maybe if you're rapping to some coworkers and they like, oh wow, I never thought about it like that. But when you're in a relationship, you got to first hit their emotions. You got to figure out where they are. Oh my goodness, Sham said I married a hoverer too. And so I am not that person. And yet there's value in, that's crooked. There's value in what my husband brings to the table, and there's value in what I bring to the table. But the bottom line is, your first tip is this: get emotionally attuned. Where are they? Are they scared at the moment? Are they feeling defensive at the moment? Do they feel like they need to protect and you are getting in the way of their protection? What is happening for them? And when you can start to identify that, then you can, kind of get in alignment with where they are emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So that you can attend to that. Because let me tell you something. No amount of like that don't make sense. That's not logical. And let me just tell you, I will say that all the time. Like that doesn't. I'm a therapist. My husband is a therapist, so we be sparring like a mug. You know what I'm saying? Don't we? Tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
We be like asking questions. You know how you ever done a survey where you get a question, then they ask the question in a different way later on down the survey, then they ask another way. We be doing that back and forth with each other, trying to like catch each other. Like, well, but that's not exactly what you said a second ago. So maybe what you should do, well, I do.
I know you do.
And I did it earlier today, didn't I?
Yeah, you really did.
I said, you said this is the issue, but you said this over here. So
I'm talking about something I do. Like, really?
I was trying to show you that whatever you said is the issue really ain't the issue. No. Because you just showed yourself to really not be in alignment with what you said the issue is. But here's the thing. That's something that we have to work on, as clinicians and as therapists, to not do that with one another.
Do you have any new drivers in your house?
You about to go ahead.
So
you about to do it right now?
Any new driver?
Let's do it.
Anybody?
We have a new driver, meaning driving the car. We have a kid who's a new driver in our house. If you follow us, you probably know who that kid is.
So if you have a new driver in your house, let us see some likes, some hearts, some thumbs.
Or you have had. You may not have them now.
Okay, the EDUs are represented.
You may have had in the past.
Yeah, relatively recently. So
talk about personality differences.
So let me ask y'all this question. So did you all establish a time when your new driver had to bring the car back?
Of course.
Oh, no, don't say of course. Don't let them answer the question. You don't know what they did. Did you all establish a time when your new driver had to bring the car back?
We getting some likes, so people are saying yes.
What was the latest? What time did your new driver have to bring the car back?
Oh, so Yemi said we have two. Okay, what's the time?
What time did your new driver have to bring the car? Hold on, don't get any additional context.
I do.
Why?
Because some people new drivers, most people get their license when they're 16. Our new driver is 17.
Okay, so 17.
Stop trying to control my words. Our new driver is 17 and they'll be 18 in 6 months or so. Okay,
so 27-year-old, so that's a little bit different.
Okay, but it's still a new driver. Thank you, Stephanie.
So your 17-year-old driver, what time did your 17-year-old driver have to be back in the house?
Okay, think about that. 17-year-old driver.
Delisa says 10 o'clock.
Well, she put that out before we said 17-year-old driver.
She said 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take a poll right now.
Take a poll.
Our new drivers are 18 and 21. Okay, so Yini.
Okay, so what time do they have to have the car back?
Shannon says 10.
How old is your driver? 17 and 8. Well, I guess we're saying 17.
Yeah.
We're asking you for 17-year-old.
17-year-old. And if you would be
not on the school night.
Non-school night, 12 p.m.
Okay, non-school night, 12. Okay.
And then the question is, why did you establish the time that you established? That's the next one.
I want to see some more with y'all.
11 p.m. is curfew. They aren't driving solo quite yet, though. All right, so I see 2 10s and 11. I would say 10. Stephanie said 10.
10, 11, 12. I would say 10. School nights, 12. What? Non-school nights, 12. Okay.
Okay, so we getting some decent responses here. So
thank you, Diane and Shannon, for sharing our videos. Not too late to share it, guys.
11:30 otherwise.
11:30 otherwise.
11 p.m. is curfew. Okay, so I'm seeing between 10 and 11. Donna says 9.
Damn,
okay.
Donna, you said 9?
It's not no damn. Every household, they have different rules and different expectations.
Of course they do, but I
know, damn, Donna.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
9 is early, Donna.
No,
that's not early.
That's her house.
You like that. You like, well, damn, we need to bring in at 8.
Monel, I want to hear what you got to say. Monel, what time Latasha says?
Okay, Shannon said not school night.
Where's Sham at? Sham, I need to hear your voice.
Shannon said midnight.
Okay.
Okay, and KT Thornton said she had to be home by midnight on the weekend because of our state laws. So same thing here is that in Maryland, you gotta when you're provisional.
After driving a few months.
Hey Tasha.
She says after driving a few months.
So 11 after driving a few months. Okay.
All right, and so let me just go ahead and shift into
Go
how
ahead.
personality types
Go ahead.
influence certain discussions in our household. So we have a new driver in our house. My thinking. Well, sit right here. Sit right here and participate in this process.
Participate. Trust.
So,
I'll be right back.
So, okay, I'm on 36 soybeans for a 17-year-old, 9 p.m. unless you're working. So, Monday, your child just started. What's the, you said, bruh, stop hovering over asses. Monday, what time do you get? What time have you established the time when you need to be back in the house with the car? So our 17-year-old just started driving. He was supposed to be in the house 9 minutes ago, but he's not here. All right, and so, but earlier today, we're coming back from the movies. We're having a conversation in the car. I'm texting my wife. First and foremost, my question to her is, did dude ask you whether or not he could use the car? Oh, Jesus. Did he ask, or is he just already assuming? Well, he's had an issue. Hold on, let me explain. I'm ventilating right now. He's had his license for 1 week. My nail said her curfew overall is 12. 1 week. He's had his license for 1 week, 7 days.
Sharon said, stop hovering over
7 days. And so I say, did he ask you? She says no. So dude is already making assumptions. So that's a problem for me. That's
no, he was not.
That's number one.
That's not true.
That's a problem. Number two. So on weeknights, like when he was in school, he graduated from school, but on weeknights we're saying like you need to be in the house by like 10:30. Like, and I'm thinking that's a reasonable time. I would say I would really feel more comfortable with 10. And truth be told, if I would have it my way, until you really get more experience.
You would say 6 o'clock.
I would say until you get more experience, because he's a little bit, he needs to get more experience. Until you get more experience, you probably shouldn't even be driving at night right now. Just be driving during the day, develop your skills. But I'm willing to be flexible. And say that 10:30 is cool, and then we can revisit this thing in 30 days after you've driven more. I'm thinking that I'm being reasonable. My wife is not thinking so. And so I want to hear, based off of what I just shared.
Well, can I say anything?
Do y'all think that that's reasonable?
Can I say anything?
Before you say
no, but hold on. Why do you get to lay out your argument, and I don't, and then if they're supposed to give us feedback, and I don't get to say nothing.
Go ahead and say your piece.
So, hello, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm trying to buddy y'all.
No, I'm not. So our son has had, so I want to give you greater context. Our son is not one who be out in the streets like that. We don't get down like that. But his general personality is one where he wasn't doing that. He was a senior in high school. He just graduated from high school. Most of y'all who follow us and are friends of ours, and y'all know who we're talking about. So he wasn't out there like that. Like when I was younger,
that's all we should be talking about here.
I was jumping out windows in my house. You know what I'm saying? My kids are not like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's why you're special.
I was sneaking out, but they're not like that. So he has been, 3.5 GPA.
We don't need all of that.
No,
first of all, driving.
First and second of all, why are you telling me how to lay out my situation? You're trying to are you hovering over my damn argument? Sharon, do you see this? Okay, so thank you, Marnell. So we have to pay attention to the kid who we're dealing with, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you had some kids, like if it was me, you had to be all over top of me because I was out here slickster trying to be out in the streets and, as much as I could when I was younger. That's just how I was. I'm just keeping it real. But you have to pay attention, I feel, to the child. And so he's not that kid. He's doing stuff like going over his friend's house and they're staying there the night with a bunch of friends and watching TV and watching movies and stuff. He's not going out. You know what I'm saying? When I was his age, when I was his age, I was trying to figure out how to get a fake ID to go to the club.
We're not talking about you.
For real, I'm just saying. So anyway, getting back to the situation at hand. So he's a new driver. What his curfew has been prior to now has been 12 o'clock. No, be quiet. I'm talking. His curfew has been 12 o'clock. Just more recently, as he's getting ready to graduate, he's had a few things that have gone on with his friends. He's been out with his friends, and we said 12:30, 1 o'clock, right? And this is not a kid who goes out all the time. He's not out. Shush. He's not out all, every weekend. So I've been happy to see like, oh, he's going out. That's good. He's not just at home. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So now that he's driving, my husband, he wanted to go out. My husband's like, I think he needs to be in by 10. And I'm like, dude, how you gonna go backwards? Like, we're supposed to as parents, we're supposed to release the grip. You know what I'm saying? Because our children need to individuate. They need to separate, and they need to kind of like, what was you doing when you were 17, 18? You were, pulling into your friends and moving away from your parents. So at the end of the day, I'm saying like, and this is a kid who don't be doing shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he don't be out there like that. Like and when he do stuff, he be like going over to his friend's house watching movies. He's not out in the streets. So I do share the concern with my husband that like, oh, this feels kind of like, some type of way to me. Y'all know what I'm saying. Black folks know what I mean when I say I feel some type of way. I feel some type of way about the fact that my child, is now out with my car driving around. And so not only can he have an accident, we out here in Charles County, Waldorf, Maryland, a deer can come out, he can hit the damn deer. The police can pull up on him, you know what I'm saying? Because he's a black man, right? A black young man, right? There's all kinds of things, right? But what I choose, you know what I'm saying? Damn, Latasha, it is 11:15. I told him to be in the house by 11:15. So hopefully I'll hear the garage any minute now. I did tell him 11:15. It's 11:14, Latasha, it's 11:14. So I'm not gonna drag this out much longer, but basically I told my husband when we were talking earlier tonight, we were texting back and forth in the car, so we weren't talking in front of him. And he's a good young man, Namoya. And so I said, look, he's been getting 12 because he don't do that much. So why are you gonna go to 10? Like, he's all excited because he's able to drive now. You're gonna go to 10 o'clock? Like, and at the time it was like going on 8 o'clock. I'm like, this man gonna get home, we'll have to run out the house and hurry up to get back by 10. That's not reasonable. I said to my husband, I think that a part of what you're trying to I said, when is it gonna be okay for him to be out till 12? He said in 30 days. I said 30 days. So what's gonna happen magically in 30 days? Ain't nothing gonna happen magically in 30 days. That's just about your comfort level. And you did say 30 days.
I know, but what did I say what happened in 30 days?
You'll have more experience. But hold up. At the same time, my husband says, I would prefer him not to really drive at night. I want to minimize the night driving time. So how the hell are you going to give him more experience driving at night if you want this man to drive in the sunlight only? Because he's driving, the garage is going up, y'all. He's coming in the house. That's a good boy. It's 11:16. It's 11:16. That's a good boy. That's a good boy right there. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. He got home in one piece, the garage. So when he comes in, we're not going to keep talking about this. Let me hurry up. Because he's going to be like, are y'all talking about me on your live stream? But this is back to, if you're just joining us, what we're talking about is personality differences. We were going back and forth. My husband was really in his feelings.
Thank you, Bruce.
Because I felt like this is a good boy. What you want to message to your children is I trust you. Because what he said is, he can drive one of his friends. You want to trust one of his friends?
They can drive him over.
You know what I'm saying? Let them come and get him and take him out and come home later. And so, I think that, I love how y'all are giving feedback. Look, thank you. Tamika said, please extend his time to 12 p.m. Thank you, Tamika. But I think at the end of the day, you see how we had to deal with one another. And my husband was in his feelings. He was walking around here with a mug on. I'm like, dude, he tends to be a little more like this. And I'm like, let him go. And so we had to be able to balance each other out. I do understand my husband's concern. He was driving to Baltimore or driving I would have a problem with that. Like, bro, you just started, right? But guess how far the kid's house is from here? 10 more 4 minutes. 10 minutes, y'all. 10 minutes. I'm like, dude, let this boy drive 10 minutes away.
Out here in these streets,
and he like, but deer come out the later you are out at night, So anyway, getting back to 12 a.m. Tamika, that's right. Getting back to the point of what we're talking about, the way that we navigated that as parents, right? Is that we really communicated, and we were doing a lot of texting back and forth as we were around the child. And so we were texting back and forth, we were talking back and forth, and we were negotiating. I eventually got to the point where I said, look, I say 12, you say 10:30, let's go to 11:15, that's halfway. Sometimes it's just like that. And so one of the things that you need to recognize is that sometimes there's not going to be any agreement. My husband is firmly where he is, I'm firmly where I am. And so we have to compromise. And so 11:15 to me was like, that's the halfway mark. And then guess what? I said 11. Try to come on this side a little more. We come in the house now, so we're going to start talking about this. So at the end of the day, you got to be willing to compromise and come out of what feels most comfortable to you.
Hey, Dora.
Hey, honey. And do what feels most comfortable for you. You can't just stick to what's most comfortable. You have to be able to pay attention to how you compromise, because you will never win. You will never go to the next level if you're just trying to get your way. Isn't that right, like you say? Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Because earlier, I know I compromised. I know I came up with a halfway solution. Let's do 11:15. Matter of fact, let's do 11, right? And all that. And you was like still walking around here with a mug on. Talking about, I've made concessions. And I've already made, well, Negro, I've made concessions too. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you see that? You just be all in your feelings. I mean, do you see that? Seriously.
I mean, that's your perspective. And I respect.
So that's my perspective, that I make concessions too. But your perspective is that you just make concessions. Mine don't matter.
No, you make concessions.
So what's my perspective?
I mean, it's your perspective that you moved more than me.
Why have you moved more than me? When I said I'm at 12, you're at 10:30, and we came to the middle.
Because I went from nothing to something.
What does that mean? Nothing.
Before it gets dark. Saying that 10:30 is acceptable.
Well, I don't want to keep the people on too long listening to our stuff, but at the end of the day, you got to be willing to compromise, right? You got to be willing to meet each other halfway, and you got to be willing to pay attention to the fact that your way is not the only way. Nobody has the monopoly on perspective, and so no matter how passionate you feel, you got to be able to pay attention to compromise.
And let me just lift this up, because what I recognize.
36 soybean. That was 1 minute late. She gonna say he late.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about.
1 minute was 1 minute.
That's what I'm talking about. But what's up, Bruce? I like your comment, Bruce. And so the thing that I want to lift up here is that it's really important that even when you experience these personality differences, that you manage your response to them. And so my wife, she lifted up one way to get through it is through the process of compromise. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is that in order to even be able to compromise, you got to regulate your emotions in that experience. And so I will admit I've had difficulty, as we all do, but I specifically have had difficulty on a number of occasions managing my emotions when it comes to personality differences, or more so expectations that I think are clear cut. When I think that things are very obvious and it really shouldn't even be up for discussion, it's and my viewpoint isn't necessarily seen, then it becomes problematic, and I can find myself in an emotional wreck. And that's not good. That's not good, because in order to develop, in order to grow your relationship, it's important that you be able to at least acknowledge and move through that stuff. And so the beautiful thing about our relationship is that, we've developed the skills to be able to see it, get through it, push through it, and all of that type of stuff. But for many couples, they get stuck there. They get stuck in the space of being upset, feeling like, you're overriding me, you're bulldozing me, you're
me? I'm doing that to you?
No, I'm saying the couples get stuck in this space. And so when they find themselves in this position where you feel as though your voice is not being validated, you're not being heard, and what you're expressing doesn't really matter, then what that does is it sows a seed of discontent, and it creates a wedge in the relationship that sometimes, unfortunately, has become irreparable. And so, what you want to do first and foremost, against deal with these personality differences, is to acknowledge your response when you're feeling as though your partner's stuff is rubbing up against yours. You got to be aware. You have to be aware of what's going on within you internally and how that's being represented or manifested externally. If you're not aware, you just go through the motions. You go through the motions, and your stuff or her stuff or his stuff will rub up against you. You'll respond, and it becomes like a ping pong. Y'all are going back and forth. Your stuff is rubbing up against hers or his, and y'all are going back and forth, and then the relationship just begins to deteriorate. And that's not what you're looking for. So again, awareness is really critical. Before you even get to compromise, you have to be aware that your stuff is being agitated when you're in any experience but there's personality differences that are rubbing up against each other.
Yeah, definitely.
What do y'all say about that? Do y'all agree that the awareness is critical? Like some people, when you're in a relationship, you're like totally blind to the fact that you automatically go to a space that is non-productive. Do you sometimes is it difficult for you to catch yourself? Do I have any people out there who feel as though like I just find myself falling into a space where I'm just mad, I'm just upset, I'm just beefing, I'm just angry and I didn't intend to get here, but I'm here now. Is there anybody out there who finds themselves in that space, or are you consciously walking into that space with your partner's guidance?
And while you all are answering that, we really do want to hear from you. And I see Stephanie says, I agree. Soyini says, absolutely. I want to read this to you. The task of attempting to sculpt our marriage partner into our own likeness fails before it begins. God made us unique with our own particular style of being. Our own particular style of being. And much of our personality patterns come with the package. The saying, y'all heard this before, I'm okay, you're okay, can be applied to personality differences. For it reflects that no one style is better than the other, and that our differences are an expression of our God-given diversity. We each have natural inclinations in varying degrees, from extroversion to introversion, as well as preference patterns for perceiving information, for making decisions and structuring our life and our time. When we try to change our spouse's natural personality patterns, we negate his or her essential goodness, or I like to say their godliness, right? And we usually cause resentment, hurt, and distrust. And so if you don't take anything away, tonight from this conversation, other than this, it will be okay. And this is this. Be careful about how you judge and about how you hate and second guess and disrespect your partner in terms of how they see things, because it's very easy to go to that place. It's very easy to say, like, what I'm saying, like, what you're doing don't make sense. You're being like in this situation that we just shared with you all. I can very easily say, you're just hovering, you're just being extra, you're doing too much, like you don't want to kind of release your grip. He can easily say, you're not paying attention to the nuances of kind of where our family is and where our children are, and we need to make sure that we provide them support, we give them parameters and structure, right? Like it's easy to judge each other. But at the end of the day, what we really have to do is make room for one another. And that's hard to do sometimes. But we have to make room.
And even in making room, one thing that my wife does, and she actually did this evening, is when we do experience like beefs or tension, it's based off of personality differences. She attempted to engage me. Now, it doesn't work for everybody, but she came over to me. I was sitting on the couch. She was like, "What, you supposed to be in your feelings?" She came right in front of me. She bent down and took. I said no. I tried to make him make his head go up. He was stiff as a mother. Yeah, I mean my next step, So I was in my feelings, but again, the act of pursuing. So that's a disruptor. So she's disrupting because the automatic inclination for her might be to be like, you got issues, and because you got issues, you're rubbing up against me a particular way, and so I got issues too. I got issues with the fact that you got issues, and so I'm not pursuing you. I'm not doing anything, but she moved and flowed contrary to that. She came and she pursued me, tried to engage me. I was still resistant, but it was necessary because what that did was it showed me some element of concern. She didn't ignore me. She acknowledged the fact that she saw something that was going on internally for me, and she was trying to address it. I didn't want her to address it. But just by the mere fact of her attempting to, it showed concern and care for the space that I was in. So, ladies, it's something to take note of. Your man may resist. He may push you away. Fellas, your woman may push you away. She may resist. But just you looking at them, you turning towards them, and you attempting to repair the breach. You attempting to mend the relationship or try to fix things or try to at least get them out of their discomfort. I mean, it's acknowledged. It's acknowledged and duly noted. And even though they may not come towards you, the reality is that they see you. They see you trying to make a pursuit. And so eventually, they'll shift and take heed to it.
So I want to shout out a few people's comments before we get ready to end tonight. Desiree, I love your transparency. Desiree says, I struggle greatly with managing my emotions and it's causing damage to my relationship. How have you all come to a point of managing your emotions to the point of saying to self, I'm going to stop and hear my partner without letting my own emotions take over? You know, I think I'm really appropriate to answer this because we've been together for 17, we've been married for 17 years, together for 24. And I was a hothead. I still am a hothead. So what I want you to understand is that some of the natural inclinations that you have in terms of your personality, these are the things that help you. These are the things that help you. So when you're in different environments, the fact that you are a little more assertive, or that you do push in, or that you do fall back, or that you pay attention to your environment, you assess the scene, these things help you, right? But they also can be a double-edged sword for you, not just out in the world, but also in your relationship. And so, Desiree, for me, some of what I use to help me navigate the world, to navigate business, my family, some of the goals that we have in terms of what we're building as a family, sometimes hit me up. They hit me up in our relationship. And what I've learned over time, I don't even know how, I got to this, because I can be a pretty, I like to talk and I like to prove my point and that kind of thing. You're probably ain't surprised about that. But I can be pretty headstrong. And when it comes to my husband, I feel like I used to be like that. I don't feel like it. I know it. I know I used to be like that back in the day, where I used to want to get my point across and make him understand and get what I was saying and see his question, see his issues, right? But what I realized is that this is it. It took a while for me to get here, but I'm here. You with me? You with me, sis? I'm here. What I realize now is that when I have done that, where I've been so committed to my own perspective, when I've been so committed to figuring out how I can make the most sense and get him right to see how he's got issues, that all it does in the next 24 hours after I do that, in the next 48 or 72 hours, we are disconnected. He is not feeling me. He ain't hearing me. I feel alone. I don't understand why we're not coming together. There is no healing from that. There is no connection from that. And I think that over time, what I have learned is that I don't want to be right. I want to be in a relationship. Oh, I don't want to have it all together. I just want to connect with him. What I value more than having the last say, having the final word, or kind of dropping knowledge, you know what I'm saying? It's connecting with him. So Desiree, how is it that I'm able to stop and hear him without letting my emotions take over? Because I value our connection, I value our relationship more than I value being right. And I think that that's really important, that you have to get to a point where you are willing to take an L in the moment so that your relationship can win in the long run. Damn, that was good. That was good. I'm going to say this really quickly from Shannon. My, that was good. That's good for me. I'm going to go journal about that. Shannon said, I usually flew off the handle first and then was like, it's so not that deep. I've had to learn to pull back and step out of my emotions to respond in a respectful way, or simply say, I can't process this, and come back. Let me refocus and come back to this topic. So these are all things, Shannon, I appreciate your transparency, that we all have to pay attention to, we all have to develop and learn within ourselves. The things that I've had to learn and develop, my husband, he got that thing down. And the things that he's had to learn and develop, it comes naturally for me. But we understand and respect that we all have our own individual personalities, we all come with our own stuff, and that one is not better than the other. Which is different. Only then can we really take our relationship and our legacies to the next level?
Yes, indeed.
We appreciate you too, Desiree. All right, thanks, Stephanie. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you next Thursday. As usual, Relationship Thursdays are always here at 9:30-ish. Something like that. Something like that.
Depending upon how you feel.
Until next time, and depending on what kind of attitude it's going with, we'll be with you next time. All right, guys.
All right, y'all.
Don't stop pushing.
Really do.
Don't stop. No.
Stop playing, start pushing. Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
Stop playing. Just start pushing. Peace, y'all.